Hello and welcome to Coffee on Korriban. Today is a super chill stream. Nothing really special planned. I just wanted to talk to you guys about maybe some stuff coming up next year. George Lucas will be making an appearance at some point during the show, and we will also be traveling to what do we have on the schedule for tonight? Geonosis. We will all be traveling together to Geonosis, so stay tuned for that. Merry Christmas to everyone. I've been out of the game for a little while. If there is an echo, it's because my phone is on. It's also uploading some important things. So let me toss that to the side. And we'll get on with the show if I can find the... There it is. Thank you for watching Coffee on Korriban. All right, so let's start off by saying hello to the people in chat. We've got Charlie. Here's a sip for you. John Graber, the space jockey, here is a sip for you. Artist Carolyn Grace, here's a sip for you. Icy Stormy, good to see you. Here's a sip for you. Hannah Roll, here is a sip for you. Thank you for stopping by. And Night Wizard 63. Aiden S, all of those other names. Here's a sip for you. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, Life Day tree. Funny story about that tree, because this is more of a chill stream. But everything was taken in terms of trees around where we are. There was like nothing left, and there was just the bottom of the barrel. Well, we thought it was a decent looking tree. We grabbed it, and all of the needles proceeded to fall off. When we got home, I was pretty depressed because Christmas is a huge deal for me and my family, and the fact that we got a stick for a tree was pretty tough to swallow for me. So, my wife is amazing. Mrs. Korriban is just the savior of the day. She had some dollar store garland. The green, like really fake looking green little stuff that you wrap around like a banister or something. And she stuffed it into the middle, and it looks fine. So there are hardly any needles on that tree, but she made it look amazing. So that Mrs. Korriban is amazing, if you guys didn't already know. Rod Priester, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Anthony, YouTube fan, good to see you. What's going on over at Lucasfilm? Depends on who you talk to over there. Favreau and Filoni have a plan. Kennedy and co are making it up as they go along. Still love the poster. Drizzle Factory, so what's going on at Lucasfilm? Did they stop making bad movies? One can hope. So let's get into this discussion a little bit, and then like I said in the intro, if you weren't here, we will have George Lucas himself stopping by the show a little bit later, and we also will be traveling to Geonosis. All of us together will be taking a live look at the Battle of Geonosis. We're going to go there in person and check it out, because here on Korriban we can do a lot of things that, not for a Jedi sort of things. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. Let's talk about what is going on over at Lucasfilm. So I want to get a gauge of the room first. All of you in chat right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how have you enjoyed Disney's ownership of Lucasfilm? I'll be generous and give it a 6.5, and I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. I can't say I loved it. I don't, overall, I don't really like what they're doing, but things like Andor, Rogue One, certain scenes from Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett, I've loved certain things, just overall it hasn't been great. So that's why I would give it a 6.5 out of 10 overall. So that's the question I want to pose to you guys first. And Night Wizard kind of has the same thing going on right here. He says like a 4. Andor and Rogue One are great, and the rest is, I would assume you would say, forgettable, or maybe even it would be better if it didn't exist. So, and there's a lot of people that feel that way. And hopefully we're coming around to realize as a collective community that we're not going to get everything to our liking, and so we can pick and choose what we want to enjoy and rewatch. Icy says 7 out of 10 for me. That's pretty decent, considering how controversial everything has been from Lucasfilm the last few years, or since the Star Wars acquisition. 7 is actually a pretty fair number, I feel. Anthony says, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays as well to you. May the Force be with you. Well, Merry Christmas and may the Force be with you as well. Christmas is my favorite holiday. So, oh, Charlie's still in chat. Good to see you here. So let's get into overall a look at what Disney has done with Lucasfilm, specifically Star Wars, because I know there's some other properties that I haven't really paid attention to. But starting with the sequels, we know the controversy around the sequels. I have grown to accept them for what they are. Not really as good Star Wars movies, maybe not even as Star Wars movies themselves, but I've grown to accept them for... I've at least come to accept that they exist. There are parts of them that I really, really like. And if you've seen any of the edits of the movies that make them into better movies than they actually are, you'll find that there are really good nuggets of actual quality Star Wars hidden in the stories, even in The Last Jedi. Now, Matt Cave, friend of the channel, hopefully you're subscribed to his channel as well, has made his own edit of The Last Jedi. It's a little crude. It's not the most polished edit out there, but it gives you an idea when you take off the unnecessary pile of garbage that are all the things that people point to, the green milk, the Jake Skywalker, and all the jokes, and the casino planet, all the junk on top. There's actually legitimate story underneath. And it took me a while to accept that. I was one of those people that said, well, what sequels? Who's Rey? I'd never heard of that. Oh, that's not Star Wars. Just basically denying the existence of the movies altogether. And now I've come to acknowledge them. I don't think they were a good decision, but at least I'm not one of those Sour Patch Kids, I guess. Rod says, I forgive Disney Star Wars a lot of missteps because I love the Lucas lore and the stories overall. And we have gotten so much. And I appreciate that you bring up the lore and the stories overall, because lore and the details of the world are what excite me most about Star Wars. And we have gotten so much of that in these movies. Think about Andor and Rogue One and how much they supplemented and set up the original trilogy. Amazing. We wouldn't have had that without Disney. And I really didn't want this to be like a Disney appreciation stream, but let's take a minute and kind of reflect on what we've actually gotten in terms of the lore. Let's see, what else have we gotten? The whole deal with chain codes, and even with the Bad Batch, an animated show that is giving us details about the transition from the stormtroopers, or from the clone troopers rather, into the stormtroopers, and all the details about how the Empire took over the galaxy, and everything with the separatist armies and how they kind of converted. It was actually pretty meaningful for an animated show to the overall story. So there's plenty of room for that appreciation of Star Wars that they've given us, that Lucasfilm has given us. I didn't mean to give like a lecture tonight, but I wanted this to be more of a chill stream. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Christmas trees can be a good fight. Respect for Mrs. Coffee. Yeah, she made it look presentable, and I was about to cry with how awful the tree looked before she got to it. So she did awesome. I'm glad the Bad Batch show has Scorch in it from Delta Squad. I'm excited for Bad Batch Season 3, which, as far as I know, it's been pushed to 2025. Is that right? I think Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte are the only things we're getting next year, which is kind of sad, but it's not nothing, I guess. My biggest question, the sequel trilogy, if it had to be accepted as canon, how much of it will be allowed to dictate the Star Wars universe going forward, the Rey movie, etc.? I think it will. I think the chances of them completely steering away from the sequel trilogy are very, very small. I would hope that they're smart enough to not lean on the sequel trilogy for the direction of all the shows leading up to it, but they should treat it more as an inevitable fact. At some point in the timeline, this happens. Try not to highlight it, but use it in a subtle way, I suppose. So the way that they've been doing that in The Mandalorian and kind of teasing that that's going to happen in the future, I don't have a problem with. There's a lot of people that will watch those shows, The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and get the tastes of the sequel trilogy, and as soon as it reminds them of that, they've lost interest in the show. I'm not one of those people, but I can definitely understand why people would be so upset about that. Tree looked great. Wouldn't have even noticed it was bad before. Yeah, that's... Mrs. Korriban is amazing. She's just so good at everything and watching 3 kids. And speaking of which, I think I mentioned in the last stream, but I have a new child. He's 2 months old now. He is amazing. He's the coolest little dude. I'm so happy to to have a boy. My daughters are amazing, but it's going to be really fun when he's a little bit older and able to do stuff more than just laugh right now. That's about all he does. Because you can't wrestle with daughters, really. Not really. But when he's older, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'll have a working on the car, shooting buddy, hiking, bike riding guy. He's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you, Icy. Well, the first thing I wanted to touch on, our first little news segment, if I can find... this is the way the news goes.
The Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
All right, so I saw this article earlier, and I don't think I split it up correctly, but this was on Facebook. It was a dinosaur that supposedly was buried in a certain way to where all of its organs were still intact or something like that. But let's read the little article, and we'll see what's going on here. Oh boy, that was a longer thing than I meant to include. The short version of the story is that Dr. Alden Furstenheim, the scientist who works with the human mummies, believes Leonardo, I guess the dinosaur's name is Leonardo, was a wet mummification. This means that after he died, probably from a combination of a bite wound and drowning, the river he was in flooded, carrying huge amounts of sand that covered his body. As the flood waters receded, his covered body was left at the bottom of a pool of water that was also filled with branches of the conifer trees that were common in the area. We only know that they were common because we find them in the stomach as part of his last meal. As these branches decomposed in the water, chemicals found in the conifer leaves leached into the body and seeped into Leonardo's body. One of the chemicals is called aldehyde. This is a chemical agent, whatever, ancient Egyptians. Basically, the trees that he ate and that he was buried with prevented the body from decomposing. This dinosaur, again, here's a picture of this dinosaur. And they were trying to theorize, all these fancy scientist people, about how could this have happened? What scenarios could lead up to him being buried in water with all of these trees violently all at once? Let's read the rest of the article. Over time, Leonardo's body was likely repeatedly treated with aldehydes, preventing decay and allowing for the body to slowly mummify. This process may have taken decades and a series of storms. It is easy to see that this was a very unique, which, little pet peeve of mine, very unique is grammatically improper. It's not incorrect any longer as of 8 years ago or so, but very unique is grammatically improper to say because unique should not have a modifier. That's just my little rant. We'll continue. It's easy to see there's a very unique set of circumstances and that why this is the only fossil ever found with this type of preservation. So, it was covered quickly because of a lot of water. I read something about that happening in a book, a super metal book. Can't remember the name. Oh yeah, the Bible. Once again, pieces of evidence for the flood. But how could this have happened? Scientists are stumped, but I thought that article was kind of fun, and I thought I would include it. This has been the way the news goes.
the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire.
Yeah, so the dinosaur was buried with trees after a violent storm, sediment buried and stuff. And what would do that? Probably a flood, probably the flood. It's funny how scientists are like, oh, what could have done this? We have never seen anything that could explain this. Well, I mean, it's kind of written in the history book already. Anyway, it's like it's already written there in a book. All right. So we started with the question of how would you rate Disney Lucasfilm's treatment of Star Wars up to this point, and we got like a 4 out of 10. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10, a 7 out of 10. Here's the next question. With Dave Filoni in charge now, do you think that is going to change, or do you think it's going to stay the same, the type of content we're getting out of Disney? Do you think that Dave Filoni being promoted to head executive, leader, whatever his title was, is going to make a difference? Or do you think he's part of the problem? So no, Flan, whatever it is. Sorry, I think you're new here. Welcome if this is your first time. He is in charge. I think his title is executive creator, chief executive creator or something like that. But I don't believe that Kennedy is gone as president. So he's the head of creativity, but I honestly don't know what the difference is between his current title and the one he had previously. It's like chief creative executive versus like head executive creative officer or something. They're like very similar. Chief creative officer. Yeah, something like that. But the old title was very similar. So I don't even know if it's just a formality, like a title change to drum up some more interest in like, hey guys, look, now he's in charge, kind of, or if it's actually anything serious. Thank you. Yes, I am growing this out. This is my winter beard. It's the start of it. It's coming along. It's definitely the best beard I've had thus far. I might make it go till like February or something. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And do you guys agree with this? If Kennedy remains, nothing changes. Do you think as long as she is in the building, we'll never get any quality Star Wars? I don't know. Yeah. No, don't shave December, and then just let it grow January, and free from shaving February, or whatever. I don't know. Change, absolutely. Things are going to get much more balanced and consistent. However, we can't judge him on Andor, the Acolyte, or any of the High Republic stuff since he wasn't at all involved. That's a good point. Because with Andor, it seemed like it was a totally different crew. The only thing that was similar between that and the other Star Wars projects was just the Star Wars, Lucasfilm, Disney branding. It seemed like a completely different crew. So can we credit any of the successful points of Andor to Dave Filoni at all? I don't think so. But will things change now that he is creatively in charge? I think I agree with you when you say much more balanced and consistent. I think the cohesion of what is going to be coming out in the future will be a lot better. I don't know if the product overall will be stellar. It might just be that they are more in line with the vision of what they want to happen because now he's at the top. Can they get away from the Disneyfication, that Disney flavor, that influence in the shows? I don't know. We will see. And I guess we'll have to wait till, Mandalorian Season 4? Or Book of Boba Fett Season 2? Or whatever the other main shows that are coming out that are not these ones coming up. But I don't know. We'll see. I really hope Dave Filoni reaches back into his George Lucas roots, and I think if we get a timer, about 15 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes until George Lucas is coming on the show. He'll be here in about 15 minutes, and then we'll we'll get his thoughts on that. Actually, I'll ask him what his thoughts are on Dave Filoni being in charge, and then also Dave Filoni always has that hat. Where did he get the hat? I wonder if Dave knows. We'll ask him that too. Let's see. The director of Andor mentioned he wasn't even a Star Wars guy. Great stuff, though. And I think that's a very important point. We need to have with these, I say we need to, like we have a say in the matter, but I think there should be a balance of professionals that aren't really Star Wars nerds, that are just there to do the job and do it well, and super hardcore nerds. There needs to be the marrying of those two groups of people to create these projects, because the guys that are the super nerds, they care about it, they respect it, they know the story of what it's supposed to do. And then the creative professionals that are telling the story, like the directors, should just be there to do the job and do it well. Because they're going to be the ones that say, like, look, I know you're super passionate about this, but that's not how we tell a good story. There needs to be that balance there. And again, who am I to say what they should and shouldn't do? But that's my opinion, man. I think if she remains, the threat will always be there. Now, if, along with Filoni being CCO, Lucas is back in his executive creative consultant role, that would mean safety. Yes, and that does bring up a question that I've wondered for the last few months. Is the current Star Wars we're getting even the good stuff, like Andor, The Bad Batch, even Clone Wars Season 7, or whatever the most recent one was, and Rogue One, is that in line with what George Lucas would have originally wanted? We might view it that way. We might say, oh, Andor is exactly George Lucas Star Wars. But I wonder if he sees it that way. Maybe I'll have to ask him sometime. Kathleen will put a chick in it, make her gay, and Dave will stick legacy characters in it and make it nostalgic bait. They are both bad, but one is definitely worse. So much worse. Yeah. There were hints of that in Ahsoka. It wasn't over the top, but enough to... I'll put it this way. The female empowerment message of Ahsoka was not nearly as strong as the we can't have any male people succeed in this series. Any strong male characters succeed. That was more apparent to me than the stick a chick in it and give her female empowerment. That wasn't as over the top, but it was still there. Now, the thing that I don't like about Dave Filoni, and I'll have to do a little bit more research on this because this is just something that another Star Wars friend of mine mentioned, is that his wife, Dave Filoni's wife, is very into witchcraft and feminism, which are two things that I absolutely do not agree with. So that is a little bit concerning. Not to pick on anyone's wife or anything, but if that's the kind of influence he has in the home, I would assume that would find its way into his productions to some degree. Now, to what degree, I don't know. But, yeah. All right, let's talk about where do you guys want to go to? Let's see. Do we want to talk about the Acolyte, or do we want to talk about, or actually go to Geonosis? What do you guys think? You guys want to go to Geonosis? Or talk about the Acolyte? Let's talk about the Acolyte. All right, so Acolyte. What do we know about it? What do we think about it? What are we expecting? Are we even expecting anything about it? I'll pose that question to you. How excited are you guys for the Acolyte, and why? I'll put an 8. I'm excited, an 8 out of 10 for the Acolyte. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm putting my eggs in that basket that it's going to be amazing. I'm just very intrigued by it. It's set in the High Republic, which everyone wrote off because of a rock in a book. But it's a clean slate. It's sort of the same situation with Andor. We don't have the established characters, so they can tell a story that doesn't have to tie into the Skywalker lineage. So there's a completely open slate for them to tell an amazing story. Will they stick a chick in it and make her gay? Probably. But there's the potential for a really solid story there. Now, High Republic, we don't know a whole lot about except for what we got in the books. And honestly, I didn't read any of the books, so I don't know anything about what is going on in that time period. I know everyone's saying Revan would be cool and whatever. I honestly hope they stay away from Revan. Give us a really good video game with Revan in it again, like KOTOR remake or something like that. But I don't think under Disney, Revan should make an appearance. But with the Acolyte, I'm very intrigued because we don't have a whole lot of details other than, unless I just haven't been paying attention to the news articles or whatever. But we don't have a whole lot of information about what the show is going to be about. So I'm very intrigued by the show. So very excited. I don't expect it to blow my socks off like I did with Andor, but I don't know. Supposedly, John Knoll's Rogue One idea sprang up around Lucas's series, Star Wars Underworld, and the Clone Wars Season 7 were pretty much all connected to his and Lucas's plans before the Disney purchase. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense now that you mention it. And I do like that they took elements from George Lucas's TV show, which didn't have like 100 episodes or something crazy like that, and used that as inspiration for a lot of parts of The Mandalorian. I really, really do like that. And the visiting different planets and seeing different cultures, that's all very, very Star Wars, and I'm sure George would like that, the endless possibility of space, of the galaxy far, far away. It's just the story decisions that I'm not sure. The mythosaurs and clans and can't take off your helmet and stuff like that. The specifics that I'm not sure what his thoughts would be on it, but maybe we'll ask him someday. I'm about 65% intrigued about The Acolyte. The irony, it's a High Republic story that takes place in the last weeks of the High Republic, which distances the series from the epic books and comics. And Anthony, did you read any of the books, and which ones, and how did you like them? That's a question, because I didn't. Again, I'll be honest, I didn't read any of the things. I heard, just like most other people, oh, there's a rock Jedi, and I didn't check it out. So, but yes, it is in a different time zone, which, is it 300 years before Episode 1? Is that about when it is? I don't know why that 300 years is kind of stuck in my head, but that's what's in my head. That's what I think. But yeah, it's set far enough away from, if that's the case, from Episode 1, the Skywalker stuff, and also far enough away from the setting of those books that it has, like I said, a clean slate. Fresh characters. You don't have to tie it into anything that we know other than the galaxy that we have established and the Jedi Order of the time. And Yoda is probably the only legacy character that we'll see in that. And he says 52 written scripts for Underworld. For one, the Church of the Force was Lucas's idea. Wonder if the Acolytes of the Beyond were his notion as well. Very possible. High Republic has been so inconsistent, we have no idea what Acolyte is going to be. It's been written by a lot of different authors, and some have been good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, rock that flies a spaceship. Yeah. All right. I think now, since we've talked over the Acolyte, I think it is time to travel to Geonosis. So, so we're going to travel. Let me pause my music here. We're going to travel to the planet of Geonosis at the very exact moments of the Battle of Geonosis to get a first-hand eyewitness account of what is going on. So now let's break it up with a brand new segment that I call... Oh, what did I even call this? Hold on. Oh, that's right. From the green screen to the big screen. Going on an adventure, the likes of which the galaxy has never seen. We're going on an adventure from the green screen to the big screen. Okay, so I'm here on Geonosis. Um, I think I'm early.
Going on an adventure, the likes of which the galaxy has never seen. We're going on an adventure from the green screen to the big screen.
Yeah, sorry about that. Turns out Battle of Geonosis was a week after that, but I've already used up all my green screen juices, so we can't go back. So sorry, guys. We'll have to check back with the Battle of Geonosis later. I would probably get shot anyway, so it might be a good thing that didn't work out. But I don't know. That was too cheesy. To be honest, the idea for that worked out a lot better in my head than it did in practice. So sorry for that. Oh boy. Currently knee deep in phase 2 of the High Republic. 382 years before A New Hope. The world building is great. Many of the characters are good. Some stories are too woke, but the story is good itself. Yeah. And I mean, I don't woke. If any of you guys know me or talk to me in Discord, you'll know how conservative I am. So if I hear that a story is specifically a book, because I don't read a whole lot of books, if I hear that a book is anything like that, I'm probably not going to read it. But I'm open to reading some of the High Republic stuff because I don't know much about it, and it has the Star Wars label on it. So if it has the Star Wars label on it, I'm going to be interested to some degree. Irregardless, because I know how some people love that word. Irregardless, it's wild how many people use that word that doesn't exist. And also height. People say height all the time. What else do people say? People say some weird stuff. Longevity. That's another one people say. That really annoys me. Longevity. Everyone pronounces that incorrectly. If you're asking which is the right way to say it, it's not longevity. That's for sure. I can tell you which ones to avoid and which ones to enjoy. I would be open to it. I'd be open to reading some High Republic. I think X-Wing has checked out a couple and that he said he liked as well. So maybe I'll have to give it a shot. All right. So what other show do we have coming out this year? I think it's just the two, The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. Which, if I'm not mistaken, I've heard people say that Skeleton Crew is going to be like The Goonies, but Star Wars. Is that correct? Is that what we got going on? I have never seen The Goonies. So let me know if that movie is any good. And if this Skeleton Crew movie is supposedly The Goonies, but Star Wars. Let me know that as well. I don't know. How excited are you guys for Skeleton Crew? I'll probably give it a 4. It's Star Wars, so yeah, I'm interested just because I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Kids movie in space? I don't know. Maybe if Hu Yang is part of this crew, that'd be cool. I think I heard someone talk about that. Maybe I've just been out of the loop of Star Wars news for too long. So, Tales of the Jedi, I don't know. That's just what I heard, but I don't know if it got delayed. I think I heard originally it was going to be Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, Tales of the Jedi, and Andor Season 2. I know Andor Season 2 is delayed till 2025, which give them more time to make an amazing story. Sure, I don't mind on that. Tales of the Jedi, I'm not too sure about. I think it's just the 2, which is a shame. But if you guys have any thoughts, what do you guys expect out of this Skeleton Crew movie? Night Wizard says, I have no idea what to think about Skeleton Crew. I'm not negative or positive towards it. It's just there. I heard that there are kids in it, but that doesn't mean it's made for kids. That's a good point. All I heard was Goonies, but in space. I stay away from leaks or anything. I don't know what it's about. Yeah. Whenever it's coming out, it hasn't been marketed at all. Or really any news articles that I've seen. Usually there's at least posters and stuff going up online of speculations and potential images from the thing. I don't even know what's going on with Skeleton Crew. I'm very much looking forward to Skeleton Crew. It's supposed to be a combo of Lost in Space, The Goonies, Amblin, movies and TV shows, and elements of Stranger Things, a Mandiverse tale. I have never seen Stranger Things, but I know a lot of people love it. So if they can adapt some of that into this show, then cool. And who knows? They might make this like a suspense horror thriller. Same deal with Andor. They took a different type of concept and used Star Wars as the vehicle, as the medium to tell that story, and it turned out awesome. So, kind of like what Night Wizard says. I'm not positive or negative. I just don't know anything about it at this point. But if that's all we're getting for this year, maybe those will be amazing and blow us out of the water. But it kind of feels like they're set up to be placeholders until the next thing, which maybe is a byproduct of the infighting of Lucasfilm and Dave Filoni trying to assume the position of chief creative officer or whatever, and a lot of the potential projects like movies and stuff have not gotten greenlit because of all that drama. That's the correct way to pronounce it is longevity. There are two ways to pronounce it potentially correctly. One is actually correct, which is longevity. Longevity is not correct because there's only one G. Longevity is the other way that potentially it could be pronounced, but that is not correct. Longevity is the correct way to say it, and no one knows that. Unfortunately, it's like zoology. Everyone says zoology, which is also incorrect. It's not zoology. There are only two O's. Zoology. Zoology. Just like height. There's no TH at the end of height. Don't get me on grammar rants. I probably won't stop. All right. Anyway. Ironside, good to see you here. I don't think I've seen you here before. Here's a sip for you, by the way. The Goonies, dude, if you have not seen that awesome movie, I heard, right, it's legendary. Yeah, I have not seen it. You'll get that reference. Let me know if you watch it. I might give it a shot. I know my wife likes that movie. Mrs. Korriban does, but I've not seen it with her. Maybe that's our next little date night if we can get the kids to bed at a good time sometime this week or something. But we're in Christmas time. We're watching Christmas movies, so. It's pretty funny how, if you heard me talk about the tree at the beginning of the show, it's pretty funny. All right. You guys want George Lucas? You guys want to talk to George Lucas? Put a 1 in the chat if you want me to talk to George Lucas about all this. All right. Anthony, YouTube fan, The Mandalorian Season 3 made him not a threat. He lost and was a coward. Disney doesn't know how to set up a decent villain for the future. Constant sequel trilogy. Which the Pirate Nation is one of them. Yeah. Oh, okay. Davey Mossy Jones. I know who you're talking about. Yeah. It was weird. I thought it was weird. All right, so we got a 1 from Night Wizard, 1 from artist Carolyn Grace. Do we have George Lucas on the line? We do. He's ready to go. Okay, let me make sure the connection is secure. Apologies, my quality is probably going to go down because that usually happens when I bring in guests, but this is AI George. We're going to ask him, I'm going to ask him about Dave Filoni's hat. I wonder if he knows anything. All right, this is AI George. Let's bring him in right now. Oh, I got to play the stinger. Hold on.
Yeah, but there's always this little part in you is saying, what am I doing?
I want you to get out of this office right now. Out!
All set. All right. And I believe he is ready, so let's bring him in now. Mr. George Lucas, welcome back to the channel, and Merry Christmas to you.
Hey, Merry Christmas coffee. I hope your family's all doing well.
We are doing excellent. I got a newborn son. He's 2 months old. He's doing fantastic. We are just a big, happy family. Speaking of Christmas, is there any Christmas traditions, anything that you personally do in your family this time of year?
Well, I really shouldn't be saying this. It's a bit personal. But I like to eat a lot. On Christmas Eve, that is. So usually leading up to Christmas, I go on a bit of a diet. I really do eat a lot. So I try to lose about 40 pounds in the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas.
40 pounds in 2 weeks. That seems a little excessive. How do you do that?
Well, you got to remember things weight differently on all the different Star Wars planets. So I take 2 weeks and fly around the galaxy sampling different space foods. It all evens out.
I don't think it works that way, but we're going to roll with it. Well, I'll take your word for it. Sounds like an excellent family tradition. So I wanted to ask you, Dave Filoni is now the owner of Lucasfilm. Before I ask you what your thoughts are on that, or not the owner, I suppose it would be the creative director, executive leadership guy, basically what you were, but now it's Dave Filoni. So first, before I ask you about that, where did he get the hat? What's going on with the hat?
Well, Dave is a very special person. All those years ago, on the set of that old Indiana Jones movie, The Adventure of the Lost Ark, Dave was the son of one of the camera grips, and he got to visit the set. He got to meet all the actors, but Harrison Ford was especially nice to him. He grabbed the very hat off his head and plopped it down onto baby Dave Filoni.
Interesting. So was that one actually seen on film in any of the movies?
And I don't think he ever goes out in public without it.
Cool. That is an excellent piece of trivia. I had no idea. Is it the same one that he wears to this day, like every time we see him?
I mean, have you seen Dave without it? I would wear a hat too.
See, that's so cool. That's fascinating. I appreciate you giving us that bit of information. So now that we got that out of the way, what are your thoughts on Dave Filoni now being in charge of Lucasfilm, at least in title?
Well, I'm sure Dave will manage just fine in this new position.
Okay. I kind of thought the same thing.
I may not agree with some of the decisions in the latest shows, and trust me, I know which ideas are his, but I respect his creativity, and I think he'll do an adequate job. But,
okay.
You know, it's out of my hands.
I appreciate you toning it down for this family programming. I really do. And we'll leave it on that note. We're not going to get anything crazy tonight. We'll just leave it there. Have a Merry Christmas.
Oh, that silly cowboy wannabe. Call him Dave Felony, because what he's doing to my Star Wars is criminal.
No, okay. No. Nope. Sorry, guys. This has been AI George.
Yeah, but there's always this little part in you is saying, what am I doing?
I want you to get out of this office right now. Out!
I don't think the man knows how to say nice things. But, I mean, it's George Lucas. You have to say yes when he accepts your invite to come on the show. But at least we get a little bit of a taste of how he feels about, Dave Felony. Actually, that was pretty funny. So, good job, George Lucas. That was pretty entertaining. Good job. I thought that was funny. I never knew that about Dave Filoni's hat. Apparently, the hat that Dave Filoni wears is Indiana Jones's hat from the Adventures of the Lost Ark, I think is what he said. Well, anyway, thank you to George Lucas for joining the show and giving us some insight onto those little things. Even if, did you guys get the feeling from George that he does have some animosity against Dave Filoni, aside from just calling him Dave Felony? I don't know. I got that from him, but I don't know. He's George Lucas. You can't really go against whatever he says. Whatever he says is as good as in a movie from one of the Star Wars movies. I don't know. Either way. Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot to talk about for the upcoming shows. The Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, that's it. for this next year, which seems kind of sad that that's all we're getting for the Dave Filoni. I don't know. It seems kind of sad that that's all we're getting for this year. I guess 2 shows is better than none, better than 1, but it seems like a placeholder year, and a year seems a long time to have placeholder shows. Filoni, yeah. We'll call it autocorrect, but it's like, what do we do? What do we do in the meantime? Do we go back and watch the original trilogy just a bunch of times and dig into that even more? I have been really getting used to and enjoying the aspects of these shows coming out in looking forward to something, and specifically finding out something new about the galaxy that I didn't know before. And whether that be a Disney creation or not, I like learning about those extra details that we didn't have previously, like the chain codes, like how they went from the clone trooper armor to the stormtrooper armor, how the CIS worlds joined under the Empire or still resisted, or like the details like that of I never saw this part of the galaxy before. All that stuff is amazing, and I'm used to having a show to pick that out of each week. Will we get that in these shows? I sure hope so, because even if it doesn't feature any characters that we know before, that I can do without the nostalgia stuff. There wasn't a whole lot of that in Andor. And even if the story is mediocre, like I can be okay with that. I think at this point people are just wanting to not be offended. And I don't mean in the way of, snowflake, the way people use that word, I am offended or whatever. Like, don't mess with the established characters, the established lore. Don't offend us by changing so much about the Star Wars universe that it feels like a completely different property, even though it kind of is. You can just write your own Star Wars stories like I did. I still want to do the audiobook for that. I want to do the voice of whatever for that. Whenever you have a draft ready, send it my way. If you want insight on Dave Filoni, just look at his wife. She's incredibly indoctrinated in the LA liberal mindset. She might even be a Satan worshiper. That's kind of what I mentioned that earlier. It's the witchcraft, which is Satan worship, whether the people actually doing it know it or not, and feminism, which is very similar, all on its own. So, 2 things that I don't like at all. I'm very conservative, and so that is concerning to me. If he can avoid letting that influence how he creates these shows and the creative decisions that go into that, like if we get, although we did kind of get outright witchcraft in Ahsoka, so I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. I know you are not a big gamer. There weren't any Star Wars game announcements at the most recent video game event thingy, E3 or whatever it's called. Yeah, it just seems like it's going to be an off year. Unfortunately, I don't like that. I don't like the sound of that. But that's kind of, yeah. I don't know. That's pretty much all I wanted to talk about tonight. Yeah. I'll get back into making videos. Maybe this week, maybe after Christmas, after the new year. I'm enjoying having the newborn baby and spending time with him, helping my wife, because now she has all 3 padawans. I don't know how she does that. I seriously don't know. This is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life. Coming home from work every day, and I think I have a stressed out 12-hour work day. And I see what she puts up with the padawans. That's impressive. So, Mrs. Korriban, if you're watching this, I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you. So, yeah. Yeah, that's true. It just, the way that it was presented on screen in Ahsoka didn't sit right with me. I'll just put it that way. And I haven't seen those episodes of the Clone Wars either, so I might feel the same way about them. So I'm not saying it's anything new, just that it's there. So, any other thoughts you guys have? We'll give it a couple more minutes. Any other thoughts you have on any Star Wars stuff? Anything outside of Star Wars? Because this is still sort of like a chill stream. Night Sister goes back to that old Ewok TV show from the 80s. Actually really interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about that. And I'll have to do some research on that. Wonderful, truly wonderful, the mind of a child is. Yeah, and a terrible, the attitude of a Padawan is. Yeah. But it's so worth it. It's so fun. Getting to see them learn new things. My 4-year-old taught herself to whistle over the last few days, which has been, if I want to see it a certain way, annoying. But at the same time, that's so cool, getting to see someone discover things like that for the first time. And it's amazing. And then the amount of love that they radiate back to us is unmatched. And anyone that is intentionally not having children because they think it'll ruin their lives is I don't get it. I don't get it. Having kids was, aside from marrying Mrs. Korriban, the best decision that we ever made, and it's only gotten better with, the second and the third. So that's me getting a little sappy for the evening. We'll call it here. I'm looking forward to these shows. I'm not stoked on them, and I hope that they're good. I hope that they're good. I hope that they give us enough of that Star Wars discovery of learning about the lore, about different planets, about different cultures, about even the spaceships and the materials and the armor and stuff. Give us some stuff to learn about these rather than just a TV show that happens to be set in Star Wars with no real depth to it. Give us the lore. Give us the world. I really hope we get that. I don't know if we will, but I don't know anything about these shows, so we might. So we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you for sticking through my my really cringy segments earlier. Glad we got to talk to Dave, or to George rather. I gotta go to bed. I'm sorry, guys. All right, this has been a chill stream. I appreciate you guys stopping by. May the stash be with you, and I will see you wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.